So it's been over 3 years since I really did a walkthrough of my whole home solar system with battery storage. So I thought now would be a good time to go over, again, why I did it, how I did it, and what I would do differently this time if I had to do it over again starting right now. So first, let's go over how my system actually works, kind of the general energy flow of the entire system. So as you can see on the screen here, this is a flow chart of how everything works. So the solar inverter is that big rectangular box right in the center of the screen there. That is the brains of the operation. So as you can see, the solar panels send power into that inverter. So the solar panels connect directly to the inverter, the charge controller specifically on the inverter. And you can see also the utility grid on the right-hand side there is connected, since I do use the grid as my backup power, since it is the cheapest form of backup power that I have. But I do have a standalone generator as well, where if I didn't have the grid as backup, I could go ahead and fire up that generator and run my home and charge the batteries at the same time, and then shut the generator off, obviously, once the batteries were charged. And you can see the batteries down there on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Those also flow up into the solar inverter. So the solar inverter is the brains of the operation. Kind of everything connects there. And then from that inverter, you can see it goes straight down and it feeds the main panel of your home. So that in a nutshell is how the power flows. So really the big question is, which inverter do you want to buy and which batteries do you want to buy? For solar panels, I'm not so specific on which brand you're getting. I'm more looking for the voltages to add up to what I want per string to fit the inverter. So that's just a mathematical calculation. You'll have to see what's available at the time, the pricing for the solar panels at the time, but I'm not married to one brand over another when it comes to those. So my home is about 2,000 square feet, and my home is all electric, though I do have energy efficient appliances like a heat pump, electric washer dryer combo, a heat pump water heater, but I can also toggle that water heater over to just use heating elements only, so it can use a lot of power if I have the extra power and want it to, but if I want it to really run as low or as energy efficient as possible, I'll just leave it in heat pump mode. It takes a little while longer to heat water, but uses a lot less electricity. So the only thing not electric in my home is the range. It is powered by propane. Now I have a total of 19,200 watts of solar panels. So that is a lot. That's more than most people can get on their roof. So it is a little bit, some people would say it's overkill how many solar panels I used, which it's true. When the sun's out, I have way more power than I could ever use. But on those cloudy days, the days that it's raining, having that size of an array definitely helps to bring in power on those really bad days. And in full sun, I can easily see over 16,000 watts continuously coming in from those solar panels. So I do have a lot of power. Now right now, I currently have 30 kilowatt hours of battery storage. Now the average home in the US uses about 30 kilowatt hours per day of electricity. So as you can see, I have 24 hours roughly of backup for the average home. I'd rather have double that, to be honest, because at night when it's hot in Texas and I'm running AC, it'd be nice to have that extra amount of power, because by the morning I am running down to around the 25–30% level on the state of charge of my batteries, and I'd rather keep those around 50%. But my budget didn't allow me to buy those extra batteries, but I do actually have an extra battery now that I am going to wire into the system. I just haven't done it yet, but it took me years before I actually had the budget to be able to do that. So if you can't buy all your batteries up front, don't sweat about it. You can add them at a later date. Now I have a split phase 240 volt solar inverter. It is considered hybrid, which means I can sell back to the grid if I wanted to, or I don't have to. I can remain completely off grid if I like as well. And that solar inverter that I have is capable of running 12,000 watts continuously when there is no sun. So that's on battery only. Now, if the sun's out, I can get closer to 15,000 watts continuously running if I have solar present as well. So using solar and battery is the main way I power my home. Now, as I mentioned, my backup power right now is the grid. So when I do need the grid, if my batteries get below a 20% state of charge, I have it automatically take power from the grid just to supplement the solar panels until there is enough sun or I have enough charge in my batteries to go ahead and run my whole house again. And my system is big enough well, my solar panels are big enough to run my house continuously off grid in perpetuity, but I don't have the battery storage to make it overnight for a couple days. If it's really cold and I'm having to run a lot of heaters, so I'm using my heat pump, AC and heater. So again, that's where the extra battery storage really comes in handy. So I do have that backup generator as well, just in case. So that's in a nutshell how my system works. I basically just try to remain off grid as long as I can and use as little power from the grid as possible. But then if I have to use grid, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Now, recently they did raise that fixed fee. So there's a fixed meter fee on my power bill, and it used to be $23. It just went up to $33. They raised it almost 50% just a couple months ago. So if they keep doing that, then pretty soon the grid is not gonna be my most efficient form of backup power, and I'm going to basically just hand the meter back to them and say forget it. Now I am in a rural county that doesn't require you to have an electrical connection to the grid. I know a lot of cities do, so if you're in that area, you're just going to have to bite the bullet and maintain that. So if you'd like to download a free wiring schematic and PDF that I have of my entire system, go to solarpdfdownload.com. Now in that download, I have links to all the equipment I use for my whole home installation, including all the small pieces, the conduit boxes, literally everything I used to do the install myself, which I did. And if you can do the installation yourself, I highly recommend it. You're gonna save a fortune over paying a licensed electrician or a licensed solar installer. But if you don't know what you're doing, do not make those final connections to power up your system. Let an electrician or someone who knows what they're doing come in, pay them a few $1,000s for a day of work to make sure you don't kill yourself. Because electricity can kill you, and you're working with 240 volts inside the solar inverter or from your meter, and you're also working with as much as 600 volts coming from your solar panels. That is not something you want to mess with if you don't know what you're doing. And by downloading that free PDF, you're also going to end up on my email list where I send out tips and tricks and things that I see or good deals that I find that I send over to you. And you can reply directly to those emails if you have questions. And I try to respond to everybody at this point. That email list is growing, so I can't guarantee I'll get back to you, but I will do my best. So I've also installed EMP shields inside my main home electrical panel. I also installed one inside the conduit box that connects to the charge controllers inside of my solar inverter to basically protect from any lightning strikes, solar flares, or God forbid, an EMP actually goes off here in the United States. Now there's a lot of debate on whether or not these things actually work. Hopefully I never need to find out. But I can tell you I've had multiple lightning strikes around my property and nothing has happened to anything inside my system or inside my home. Now my system is big enough to keep me off grid over 90% of the time. So less than 10% of the time I have to go back to grid for just a little bit of backup power. But my electric bill is pretty much eliminated except for that darn fixed fee of $33 now. Besides that, I get the added benefit of when we lose power, and we have lost power 3 or 4 times since I installed my system, I don't even notice it. And that's security for your family it's hard to put a price on. But even in an extended grid outage, like I mentioned, I can stay off grid about 90% of the time. Well, if I know there's no grid present, I can really back off on my electrical loads and be able to extend pretty much indefinitely, unless there is like a massive storm for a week here, which we rarely get in Texas. Now, most people don't realize that really 90% of your electric bill is really your air conditioning and heating, if you're heating with electric, cooking with electric, so your electric stove, your electric water heater, and your electric dryer. That's like 90% of your power you're using during the day. If you can cut back most of those, you can make 30 kilowatt hours of battery storage like I have last a very long time. As I mentioned, it's been over 3 years since I've installed my system, and if I had to do it all over again, there are some things I would change. So let's get into those now. The first one is my solar panel racking. Now, when I priced out a metal rack for all 60 solar panels that I have, it was going to be around $20,000 for just the racking. Now, it's about $12,000, or at the time it was about $12,000 for just the metal racks, but then it was going to be about $8,000 more to dig, bring equipment in, and the labor to dig these post holes through my solid rock concrete that I have here in the hill country of Texas, and then pour a concrete foundation for all of those racks. So at 20 grand, I couldn't justify that cost. So I went ahead and just built my own from scratch out of pressure treated lumber that I painted. Now those took me literally probably 2 months to build because I had to build 20 of those racks to hold 5 panels each, actually a little bit more than that. But needless to say, it took me a long time to build them and it wore me down. Now it did save me about $14,000 overpaying for the metal racks, so I was happy with that. But the trade-off was I'm using pressure treated lumber and it's not gonna last forever. I'm guessing I'm going to get 10 years out of it, maybe 15 if I'm lucky. So if I had to do it all over again, I would use these plastic bucket racks. They're called ballast racks, and I'll leave a link to these in the description of the video. They would have saved me a ton of time, and it probably cost about 10-20% more than what I spent on the material for the lumber to do the wooden racks. So it would have definitely been worth it to me, and these are going to last over 30 years with what they're made out of. Not to mention the amount of time to save on the labor would have been astronomical for me. Even though I did the labor myself, my time is still worth something, so using these would have saved me a lot of time. So I highly recommend going with these over building your own wooden ones. Now, a second thing is I used the Sol-Ark 15K inverter because it was the only inverter at the time when I put my system in that you could actually have a 200 amp pass through, which means you connect from your meter, it goes directly into the Sol-Ark inverter, and then from there it goes out to your electric panel to feed a 200 amp panel. Now, they were the only one that had that type of inverter when I bought mine, so I definitely went with theirs, and it was about $7,500 at the time. Well, if I had to do it all over again now, I'd go with the EG4 Grid Boss paired with their FlexBoss 21 inverter. That'd be getting me more power and for a lot less cost and a lot easier install. Not to mention the EG4 Grid Boss also has a bunch of smart ports you can use to run to different appliances if you want them to shut down or turn on based on how much solar, how much battery power you have. So it just kind of ups the technology game for sure going with that. And I'll leave a link in the description of this video to both the EG4 Grid Boss and the EG4 FlexBoss 21 inverter that I recommend now. And the third thing I would change is, while I love my EG4 LL server rack batteries, I definitely would not go with those now over again. Now I would use the 16 kilowatt hour wall mount battery that EG4 makes. On a cost per kilowatt hour, those batteries are way less expensive than I paid for 4 years ago. Now, in general, all the batteries have came down in price, but I had to stack all of these batteries together, wire them all together, put them in a server rack, which also costs, I think, over $500 to $700 somewhere in there. And with going with the EG4 wall mount battery, not only are you paying less per kilowatt hour for the same amount of storage, but you also don't have to buy a rack and wire all those batteries together. So I'd definitely go with that if I had to do it all over again. So I'll leave a link to that battery in the description of this video with a discount code that'll save you some money if you end up purchasing it. Other than that, I can't really think of anything else I would change. I am really happy with my system. And at the time, I spent $35,000 for all the material to put my system together. And that was with no labor. That was just me doing it all of myself. Now with the equipment I recommended, you can do that same amount of system with a little bit more power for under $25,000. So as you can see, costs have came down quite a bit over the last 4 years. So just because you missed out on the solar residential tax credit that you could have gotten, don't feel like you got completely left out because prices have came down so much. You're not paying anywhere near what we all had to pay 4 years ago. Now, if a system like this sounds interesting to you, go ahead and go to solarpdfdownload.com and download that PDF with all the links, the wiring schematic, so you can see how it all goes together, and it'll make a lot more sense to you. That's it for now. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all in the next video.